Hey guys, welcome back to another quick and dirty Portal tutorial. I say another, but in reality this is an update because for those of you who may have been a bit more savvy than I, may have noticed that on trigger stay 2D doesn't actually update every frame. Therefore, if you try to spam the teleport button, you don't always get the chance to teleport on every frame, which for most cases might be fine, but we want to go for consistency around here. Myself, wearing my dunce hat, already deleted the scripts without thinking to record them first, so I will not actually get to show you that happen, but take my word for it or watch the old video and try it for yourself if you want to find out. But I'm actually going to make another quick and dirty Portal tutorial just to show you guys what I would do instead. So I have a player set up here, and it's just a game object with a sprite renderer, and it's got a red tint to it and a rigid body, which just has the Z rotation locked, gravity scale set to 0, and a simple box collider. Nothing fancy. So we're going to create a new empty game object. We're going to call it Portal Parent. And in the Portal Parent, we'll create a new sprite, and we'll just make it a circle for now. And we'll call the first one Portal 1. We'll press Ctrl D to duplicate that, and then we'll go and call this one Portal 2. So make sure when you do your player that you have set a new game tag. I have already done it. So take our portals, we'll move them and separate them so they're not on top of each other. And for the heck of it, let's actually select both, take this, and we'll just set their order and layer to -1 for now for demonstration purposes. And we'll change their scale to 2 on both the X and the Y. So if you look at our hierarchy here, the way I have mine set up is that I have scripts, or assets, scripts, and portals, just to keep things organized. So we're going to right click, create new C# script, and we're going to name it Portal Handler. Open it up in your favorite code editor of choice. In my case will be Visual Studio Code. Start with what we do know about our portal. Let's actually do a little planning before we actually try to make anything. We will not need start and update in this particular tutorial, so let's get rid of those. And by the way, for those who don't know, if you have something you don't want here, if you press Control or assume Command X, I don't have a Mac, I don't know, but Control X will delete the whole line. So, first thing we want to do is we want to get the other portal's location. And after the first thing we're going to do is get the other portal's location, and we're going to set it in a variable, which is a vector2. We don't need it to be public, and I'm just going to call it other portal location, lock for short, and just initialize that as a vector2.0. So now that we have that variable stored, we want to know where we're actually at, and have we tripped the portal trigger just yet. So are we in another portal? Well, the thing I would do different on this case is that we're going to set a bool, and we're going to say bool is in portal, and we're going to initialize that to false, which it will be false by default anyways because of the negative truthy jazz. I can explain that more in detail later, but that's a C# thing. Actually, I can explain that more in detail later. Anyways, are we standing in a portal? So we're going to say on trigger enter 2D. If we have triggered this, we want to look and check. We want to set the portal to true. So to start with, once we've entered the portal, we're going to store a string, and we're going to call it sibling name. And this is the other game object. So let's get into the other game object, and we're going to say the tag is what we want from that. That's going to get stored as a string. But we know the tag that we're looking for right now. It's not this portal, it's the opposite portal. It's not the portal we're standing in, which in this case is the other, so we're going to use a ternary. And then the last video I used a ternary as well, but just in case you're unfamiliar with how it works, it's kind of like, we're going to use the equals operator here. Is the tag for the portal we're standing in portal 1? And then that can just really be seen as a question in this case. And if it is portal 1, we want to say, let's store portal 2 instead. So now we know that's the true statement here. So essentially, here is the question we're asking. This is a condition, and if this condition evaluates to true, store this. If not, leave it alone in this case. Oops, that has to be a string. So portal 1, and that is a ternary in a nutshell. It's as simple as an if statement, but all in one line. So which portal system entirely are we standing in? So find the parent of the portal that we are standing in. And to do that, we're going to store a transform, and we're going to just call it the parent system. And that's as simple as looking at the portal we're standing in, game object, oops, so other dot, come on. So that's as simple as looking at the portal we're standing in, which we're going to call other dot game object dot transform, and then get the parent of it. Now we know what portal we're standing in. Well, what portal system we're standing in. So now we want to find the location of the portal, not the portal we're standing in, but the sibling of the portal. So let's just loop through all of the transforms. And the cool thing about Unity, as I stated before in the last video, is that every object has a transform. So we can actually just loop through that. So we're going to find where the sibling portal is located. And once we start that loop, we're going to say for each transform child in parent system. Okay, so here's the part that's going to be a little bit different than the last video. So instead of trying to use the onTriggerStay, let's just use this bool here. So we're going to say if we're in the portal, we're going to set it to true, and if we're not, we're going to set it to false. So basically, once we've entered the portal, we can say is in portal, and then we're just going to set it equal to other.gameObject.tag is equal to portal 1 or other.gameObject.tag is equal to portal 2. And that tells us whether or not we're actually in the portal. Okay, and now we just want to know if we've exited the portal. So we're going to say on trigger exit 2D, have we left the portal? Well, if is in portal is equal to true, and other dot game object dot and other dot game object dot tag is equal to portal 1 or other dot game object dot tag is equal to portal 2, then we want to just set portal 1 back to false. Sorry, is in portal back. Then we just want to set is in portal back to false. And I kind of lied, we do need the update. So instead of making a whole method, I'm actually going to make this simpler. It's just for the sake of demonstration purposes. So I'm going to say if input dot get key down, and I'm going to set it to space, key code dot space, and is in portal, so we know for a fact we're in the portal now. And then we want to take our transform dot position and just update it to be where the other portal is, and we're done. The only other thing that we should need to do is actually add colliders to these. So I'm going to add a circle collider 2D. I'm going to add a circle collider 2D to both of them. And don't forget to mark them both as isTrigger. I have them both highlighted, so do not miss that step. And I already have a player controller script. That's a whole different topic for another video, so please let me know if you'd like to know how I implemented mine. Don't forget to take our portal handler and put it on our player. Make sure our player is tagged with player. And in portal 1 and portal 2, we want to add portal 1 and portal 2. You may not have these, so add tag, and then you can simply click the plus button here and add portal 1 and portal 2. So be sure to add portal 1 and portal 2. And we'll click play and cross our fingers and hope that we did everything correctly. Then we'll just move our way over here, press the space button, and look at that. We've teleported. And we can spam it now. And now for some bonus content. Let's actually add a random aspect per a viewer request. Here is how I would implement a bit of randomness. I would first declare an int, and we would call it rand portal num. And it doesn't matter what we initialize that to. We're going to change it quite frequently. And I'm actually going to take this string name and I'm going to move it outside as a member variable. We need access to that later once we've set it. And we do know that we'll be entering the trigger before we exit one, so we'll set it in the entry trigger. So let's go ahead and get rid of this. And now, we first want to do a do while loop. Do not make the mistake I did and do this wrong, because if you do, your editor will crash. I would know. I had to actually rewrite a lot of this code because I had to restart my PC thinking I had messed up something royally because, yeah. So a do while loop. Essentially what a do while loop does is it will execute this code here first, and then it will check to see if it's true, if some condition is true, and it will continue to execute that condition while the condition is false. So in here, we want to say a random number. We want to say random, or rand portal in, or num, it's going to be equal to random.range, not random range, range. And we're going to say 0, and we're going to say child count plus 1. What is child count? We'll have to define that first. Child count, or int child count, is going to be equal to the parent system transform, which is below this. We need to bring it above because this actually has to happen first. Now that we know this, the child count is going to be the parent system dot child count. That'll tell us how many children are in there. And we will start at 0 and we'll go to whatever the child count is plus 1. And now that we have that, we want to move this string name down in here too. And we're going to do what's called a string literal. And we're going to just actually get rid of all of this and simplify this. So we're going to say $sign at the beginning of this, and we're going to say portal, and then inside of this we're going to open and close a curly bracket, and we're going to say rand portal num. What this will do is it will create a string that says portal, and it's going to have whatever number that this randomly chooses. Now, we don't want this to actually give us the same portal and keep going. So let's check and see whether or not the game object that we have just collided with, which is the trigger in this case, is this number. And if it is, we'll just keep doing this until we get a number that isn't, or a string with the portal number that isn't. So while other dot game object dot tag is equal to sibling name, just keep looping. And now that we're here, we can actually this is simplified as well. We're going to move to the other portal. And while we're in the process of this, let's actually go down to here to this on trigger exit 2D. And instead of checking for 1 and 2 portals like this, let's just check for 1. And is it equal to sibling name? Because that means essentially the portal that we just teleported to will be the one we're exiting, and we'll set is portal equal to false. And now that we have this portal boolean up here, we're actually going to need to do a little bit of work. So let's move it down here, and we'll just move it inside of this if statement here. This is essentially saying that once we found the opposite portal, we're going to just set it to true. We're in a portal. And then finally, one gigantic oversight that I haven't actually addressed yet, or even thought about until I got done recording this video, is how do we know the thing we're actually triggering is a portal? So basically, let's actually just get portal. And how do we know if we are actually in a portal or not? Let's go back to Unity, and as you can see, I've made a portal system script, and I'm going to just put it right on the portal system itself, and I'm actually not going to use this boolean. So we're actually going to say, we're going to check the parent. So game object dot portal system is going to be equal to other dot game object dot transform dot parent dot get component type of portal handler, portal system. And we'll just simply check if this is null. Instead of calling this game object, we'll call it portal system. And we'll just check if this is null. So basically, if this returns truthy, which it will never do if this doesn't exist, then we'll run all of this code. And now that we actually have this, we don't need this transform anymore. We can actually just get rid of this. And we'll replace this. Well, let's try it out in Unity and hope, cross our fingers and hope for the best. That's not right. So I made a slight boo-boo. When I caused my infinite while loop a while back, I had to retype a lot of code so I could actually explain it a little better. And in the process, I actually made this do while loop start at 0 when it should have started at 1. But now it should work. As you can see, the code works essentially the same as before. So let's actually let's go to play mode for a second. We'll press Control D. And we'll name this Portal 3. And one drawback to this method is that you're actually going to have to create a new tag for every portal that you do. I've already created Portal 3, but it should essentially work the same way now. But now, every time we go to move, you can actually see that the choice that will be random. And that's how I would implement randomness. I'll leave it up to you to decide on how you want to implement the actual portal system script itself and the things that you want in there as an exercise to the viewer. But this is how I would implement random functionality. Bye.